Worker Alliance here at New College, and I'm chair of the Southwest Florida Coalition for Peace and Justice. I'd just like to say welcome to campus.
Hi, my name is Ijama. I'm a current student at New College, and I'm also a part of Student Farm Worker Alliance. And I'm so excited that y'all are here. I'm just going to talk a little bit about what Student Farm Worker Alliance does on campus. So we are a student organization that works with workers to fight for our workers' rights and labor justice within labor movements. And we also work outside in the surrounding community with issues of police brutality, such as with Rodney Mitchell's family. So really, we're just all over Sarasota trying to make sure that people can live the way that they want, to access resources fairly, and that's why, and to make sure that people in the government are being held accountable, and that's why we're really excited to have this event on campus.
And we're really excited that the Peace Education and Action Center wanted to do this event here. It's a really inspiring event that Rhana B is going to be walking all the way from Sarasota to Tallahassee for campaign finance reform. And it's this kind of mass assembly that's really important to us because we recognize that movements do not grow out of individuals. Individuals like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X did not come out of nowhere. They came out of a context of people organizing and people mobilizing, and thousands of people marching on places like Washington, D.C. and Birmingham and Atlanta to win change and to win real reforms that change people's lives. And so y'all being here today is part of recreating those kind of movements that we need to take back any semblance of democracy, of justice, of economic emancipation. So with that, I think it's time to introduce Arlene Sweeting. Arlene is former station manager of WSLR and the current director of the Peace Education and Action Center. She's done a lot of work here in the community. She's just a vibrant aspect of everything that we do here. So please, join me in welcoming Arlene.
Thank you, Roger and Ijama, so much for welcoming us here to the beautiful campus of New College. And thanks to all of you for being here today as we help to kick off this people-powered walk. That's right, we don't have any corporate sponsors, no big wealthy donors. What we have is people that care about this country and want to see it live up to its ideals. All right. Not long before he was assassinated, President Lincoln said, "I see in the near future a crisis approaching that unnerves me and causes me to tremble for the safety of my country. As a result of the war, corporations have been enthroned. An era of corruption in high places will follow, and the money power of the country will endeavor to prolong its reign by working upon the prejudices of the people until the wealth is aggregated in a few hands and the republic is destroyed." Lincoln understood in the 1860s what was beginning to happen in our country, and we are now living with the reality that he foretold. When 42% of the country's wealth is concentrated in the hands of the wealthiest 1% and corporations are in control of the decisions that affect our lives, we no longer have a democracy. And that is where Project Granny D comes in. So many of us have seen the issues we fight for, whether it be clean air, living wages, workers' rights, or affordable health care, run into the same brick wall, the wall of corporate power. We realize that in order to win on any of these issues, we have to strike at the root of the problem. We know that corporate personhood and money in politics are some of the most damaging and damning examples of the corporate takeover of our government and lives. So nationally, over 370,000 of us have signed on to the Move to Amend initiative to amend the Constitution to say that corporations are not people and money is not speech. That is the main message that Rhana is going to be carrying on her walk to Tallahassee. And there are many organizations that are working on this issue and that have signed on to support Rhana's walk. and we want to acknowledge them today. If you are a member of the organization, please put up a rousing cheer when you hear your name. 99% Rise, Awake Pinellas, Common Cause, The Daily Cause, Florida Progressives, Food and Water Watch, the Franciscan Action Network, Free Speech for People, the League of Women Voters of Florida, Move On, Move to Amend Broward, Move to Amend Florida. The New Hampshire Rebellion has signed on, and we're happy to say that Lawrence Lessig will be joining Rhana for her final 3 days in Tallahassee. The Peace Education and Action Center here in Sarasota. People for the American Way. Public Citizen. The Stamp Stampede. United Republic, Represent Us. WSLR Community Radio. And the Wolf Pack.
Yeah!
Woo, the Wolf Pack! Yes, so we have a lot of support nationwide for this effort, and a lot of support here locally, and we thank Rhana for making it all possible by getting out there and taking this action and planning this walk. So first of all, I want to introduce to you a couple folks from our local League of Women Voters from the Manatee and Sarasota County Leagues. We have Judy Aker and Rosalie Schaefer. If you will come up, please.
What a great group gathered here today. This is fabulous. I am Judy Aker, co-president of the League of Women Voters of Sarasota County. And I'm going to keep this brief because I think everybody here knows why we're here. Campaign finance reform has been in the public mind for many years. Struggles to get legislation through both houses has taken forever. Some bills have never made it out of committee. The League of Women Voters believes that the methods of financing political campaigns should ensure the public's right to know, combat corruption and undue influence, enable candidates to compete more equitably for public office, and allow maximum citizen participation in the political process. Studies show raising contribution limits reduces voter turnout and average citizens' likelihood to make small dollar contributions. We're proud of Rhana's efforts, and by the way, she is a member of the Sarasota League of Women Voters. And it's one thing to send emails and letters or phone calls to those in Tallahassee or Washington, and indeed the League certainly encourages that, but it's quite another thing to make a statement about the need for campaign finance report by walking 350 miles to Tallahassee. You go, girl. We're with you all the way, and good luck.
Can everyone hear me? Yeah. I'm Rosalie Schaefer, president of the League of Women Voters of Manatee County, and it's so good to see all of you here today. And this is just a wonderful event and a wonderful project. The League of Women Voters has been working for nearly 100 years to protect the right to vote and to improve citizen participation in democracy. Our motto has been making democracy work. And that's why we're here today, because our democracy has not been working well lately. Campaign finance has been a problem for some time. It's just been made a lot worse since the Citizens United decision. There are not millions, but billions of dollars flowing from PACs and committees and super PACs, and they are not only affecting who gets elected, but it's strongly affecting the decision making, because people in office have an election coming up. They start to think, well, I really need to get money from that super PAC, so I better vote a certain way to make sure the dollars keep coming in. We live in a country where 75% of the time of our congressmen is spent doing fundraising. And it's very corrupting, because what happens quite often is that in order to get donations at a certain time, they will schedule a vote on a bill that's important to one or more corporations, and then schedule that vote right after a fundraising event. So what do you think the purpose of that is? And what does all this money buy? It buys votes for what the wealthy donors want, like tax breaks and easy regulation. And it buys silence and inaction for what most citizens want, like income equality and good schools and a clean environment, a chance to get ahead in the world, a level playing field. Instead, we have to pay claims. Thank you. That's the head of a super PAC flying in. So anyway, you and I are left out of the game with citizen perception of government at a historic low. Some people are turning away from the polls, saying, what's the use? They're all a bunch of crooks. And that's completely the wrong attitude you should take, because that just makes the system work. And what happens when there's a low turnout? Only the most impassioned voters show up. It's not a good idea. The turnouts are scary in the last few elections. We had something like a 20% turnout in a primary. I mean, that's pathetic. Don't forget that no matter how rich someone is, when they go to the polls, they have the same power as you do, and that is one vote. And one vote from every citizen in our country could make a lot of changes. So we wish very great success to Rhana in her journey, and we hope that we can get the laws changed. And in the meantime, keep going to those polls and voting. Thank you very much.
So both the Manatee and Sarasota League of Women Voters have tables set up. If you haven't gotten one of their voter guides, you can pick one up. And also, they do educational forums, and I think Manatee County has one coming up on Amendment 1 and Amendment 3, so if you don't know enough about those amendments yet and you want to learn more, visit with Rosalie and she'll give you more information on that. Okay? Now, the next group, the Florida Veterans for Common Sense, began in Sarasota in 2002 during the run-up to the Iraq War. As the drumbeat for war intensified, 3 Vietnam-era veterans questioned the government's position that the war would be short and easy, and that the Iraqi people would greet American troops as liberators. Like Vietnam, they noticed intelligence used to justify the war appeared to be propaganda and not based on reliable information. As they held conversations with others, they learned they were not alone. And they formed a group to begin to educate themselves and the public on national security and veterans issues. They were also the first group to support Rhana's walk here, and they actually adopted a resolution pointing out the national security threat of corporate personhood. So it is only fitting that Jean Jones, one of the founding members of the Florida Veterans for Common Sense, will now introduce you to the woman behind Project Granny D.
Can you hear me out there? Yeah. Good. What I would like to say first is to have everybody stand up and acknowledge Arlene for all the good work that she's done to make this project a success. We wouldn't be here today on this beautiful campus without the good work of Arlene. Thank you so much, Arlene. Now, this corporate personhood, it's correct. Our group recognizes that this is a national security threat. Now let that sink in. You know, when corporations are given the same constitutional rights that you have, they can direct the direction of our country and where we head in the future. And maybe you think so, probably most of you don't in this group, but I promise you, with corporations running the country, what's their bottom line? We know what their bottom line is. It's profit. Our democracy's gone. I want to point out this Supreme Court case, Citizens United, is radical activist judges who are taking our democracy and throwing it away. These cases are in the same tradition of those awful cases that the Supreme Court issued years ago. The Dred Scott decision, which justified slavery, and Plessy versus Ferguson, which was separate but equal, it's constitutional. Citizens United should go down in the same vein as those cases. It's absolutely outrageous. But I'm proud to say that right here in Sarasota, we have a small lady with a wonderful big heart. And she's willing to stand up and say no to corporate personhood. She agrees with one of our members that said, we'll recognize corporate personhood when the first one comes home in a body bag. What Rhana is asking you to do today is not only come out for beautiful events like this, but to help her walk. And to meet with these politicians, confront the politicians, and ask them where they stand on a constitutional amendment to overturn this outrage of Citizens United. We have to continue to take action. We have to stand up as people. Our Constitution's designed for people, not corporations. So let's give a big hand to the biggest-hearted lady in Sarasota that should inspire us all. Imagine Rhana walking to Tallahassee.
Testing. Okay. Well, welcome to all of you, and I'm just kind of overwhelmed. My name is Rhana, and I feel like I am in the midst of a fantastic dream, especially when I look over and I see one of my 3 favorite people in the world, Jim Hightower, is here. I feel like it's time for me to wake up. So I'm pinching. It's real. I really am here, and I really am starting on this absolutely amazing journey. A year ago, when I started thinking about this, trust me, I had no idea what I was getting in for. Fortunately, there are a group of amazing people who did know what I was getting in for, and they surrounded me with their support, with their expertise, and if it weren't for them, I would not be doing this, because I kind of analogize it to a structure, and they're the infrastructure, they're the plumbing, they're the electricity, they're the walls. I'm just the paint on the outside of the building. I would like to, and I know I'm going to forget some of you, but hey, I'm old, I'm forgetful, forgive me. I have to thank people who were with me from the very beginning and who did so much work. Ray Claire and Arlene have been miracle workers. Bless them both, they're just incredible. And of course, without the support of Jean and the Florida veterans, they were very kind. They let me think I'm their den mother. And I just hope they behave themselves when I'm gone. And also some people I met in the beginning, Andrea and Vivian, and when the 3 of us together, we call ourselves the triumvirate. They've been so helpful. And of course, without Joe and Chuck, who are doing Facebook and website, which I don't have a clue about. When I told my son I was doing this, and the Facebook and all that stuff that had to be involved, he looked at me, he said, "Mother, technology is not your friend." And he was right. So bless you, Joe and Chuck. I don't know what I'd do without you. Okay, let me explain why at 81 am I going to walk from Sarasota to Tallahassee. Well, I'm trying to continue what Granny D started 15 years ago. Kind of bear with me. At one time, I was a first grade teacher, so I think in analogies and pictures. I was thinking about life. It's sort of like a racetrack. This is my PowerPoint, boys and girls. That's the racetrack. And you go through the starting gate, and I happen to be very, very fortunate. Each decade was better than the decade before. Then all of a sudden, I was kind of rounding the curve. When I turned 80, I thought that's going to be a watershed year. I can look ahead. I can see the finish line. And I thought, I really want to do something to make the world a better place before I cross that finish line. Well, shortly after my 80th birthday, my dear husband of 56 years died. It was his time. And when I came back from his memorial, I sat down one day and I thought, I've got all this time on my hands. And I'm so lucky. I am healthy. I'm able to be retired. I need a project. And there are many, excuse me, but I think I'm nervous. Again, I think in pictures, and I pictured a wheel. PowerPoint 2. And the spokes of the wheel are all the different issues that we're concerned with. It's the environment, climate change, education, health care, veterans issues. I mean, there's all this multiplicity of issues that are really important. And I thought, I can't choose. So how do I find something that is the hub of that wheel that connects all the issues? And I immediately thought of how we elect our representatives, because they are the people who make the decisions that affect all of the issues that you and I care about. Excuse me, I have to get to page 2. Oh, yeah, when I first started talking about this, so many people came up and they said, well, the answer is just throw all the bums out. And I thought, I don't think so, because it's not the people that's the problem, it's the system. Spoiler alert, another PowerPoint is coming up, an automobile. Think of our government and our system as that automobile. It's not in very good shape. The ceiling is crashed, the tires are flat, the engine is all rusty, and it really doesn't matter who we put in the driver's seat. It ain't gonna go. And I think that's true with our government now. The system has been totally corrupted, and it doesn't matter who we put in the driver's seat. So it's up to us to change the system. This brought Doris Haddock, Granny D, to mind. In 1999, when she was 89 years old, she walked across the whole United States for campaign finance reform. And she was very instrumental in getting the McCain-Feingold bill passed. She was there at the signing. We innocents thought, oh great, we're on a good path. Well, the years passed, the gremlins got to work, and they managed to dismantle all the progress that had been made. Doris lived to be 100, and 2 months before she died, Citizens United came down. When she heard about it, she made this statement: "The Supreme Court today made things considerably worse by undoing the modest reforms that I walked for, I went to jail for, and tens of thousands of Americans fought hard to see enacted. The Supreme Court now opens the floodgates to usher in a new tsunami of corporate money in politics." And if you believe in making ours a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, then join me and several of the speakers that spoke in supporting a resolution to amend the Constitution to overturn Citizens United. Money, oh, this is my another, there you go. Money is not speech. And as Granny said, if money is speech, then speech is not free. And corporations are not people. Gene, you stole the line from my speech, but I'm going to say it again. One of our favorite vets came up with a saying, I'll believe corporations are people when I see one come home in a body bag. Now, people ask, what can you do to help? Well, Arlene articulated beautifully all of the different things. We can sign petitions, we can write letters, or call our congresspeople, write letters to the editor. I know not everybody can spend a lot of time being active, but it doesn't take a really long time to put in a telephone call to your representative. And especially now, even though I don't know how to work it, but with all this websites and all that sort of stuff, they make it a lot easier for people that know how to work it. And also, we can join grassroots. This was a grassroots from the very beginning, and those are the different, some of the different organizations that are on board with amending the Constitution. So you can check them out. I'm sure they all have websites, and you can join one of them or just make yourself aware. And if you do nothing else, talk to your family, talk to friends, talk to your co-workers, spread the word, because let me tell you, with my practice walking and the people I've been talking to, I have not met a single person who does not believe that something needs to be done. This will bring me back to Granny D. You people have been so incredible, saying nice things about me, but Granny D was an oak tree. I am just an acorn. We can't all be oak trees, but we can all be acorns. Thank you so much.
Shake her hand before you leave the event today. We at the Peace Education and Action Center believe in education. And so we try to educate ourselves, and Rhana and I have been part of a corporate power study group that we've been holding for the past 10 weeks, and we have some other members here today as well. And a couple weeks ago, one of our members brought in a copy of the Hightower Lowdown to share some information that she'd read the previous week. And so that evening I went to Jim Hightower's website to read a little bit more, and I found his commentary for Monday, September 22nd, entitled The Corporate Purchase of America's Political Discourse, where he encouraged people to get involved with Move to Amend to help stop the corporate purchase of the people's political speech rights. I took a shot in the dark the next day, and I phoned him up. I made it clear that this was a grassroots effort, and there wasn't going to be any money involved. And he was actually out of town, so I was speaking with his people, and they got in touch with him, and I was really surprised. I got a call back the next week, and they said, Jim would like to come. So I want you to know that Jim Hightower is here today for the same reason the rest of us are here today, and that's to reclaim our democracy and to strike at the roots of corporate power. This man has been preaching the grassroots gospel for most of his life. He's had firsthand experience of politics and government, both as a legislative assistant on Capitol Hill and as the two-term Agriculture Commissioner of Texas, where he fought for small farmers against the giants of agribusiness. In addition to best-selling books like Thieves in High Places and There's Nothing in the Middle of the Road But Yellow Stripes and Dead Armadillos, he publishes a political newsletter called the Hightower Lowdown, which we hope you got a copy of when you came in the door. And we hope you'll subscribe and support Jim's efforts. And we are so thrilled to have him here today. Please give him a big, warm Sarasota welcome, Mr. Jim Hightower.
Thank you so much. What a joy to be in this beautiful setting with such a beautiful purpose. And thanks to Arlene and to Ray Claire and to all the volunteers who make this possible. That's what makes democracy possible, are volunteers, people who step out and do the extraordinary things. And our wonderful radio station, 96.5 back there, WSLR, radioactive for democracy, for the people's interest. Just a joy. Thank you so much for allowing a scruffy Texas populist to come in here with you Bazzini Eastas, for this kickoff celebration of Rhana's momentous and uplifting 350-mile trek to Tallahassee. Makes me happier than the flea at a dog show to be standing up here looking out at all of you tremendous corruption fighters and corporate butt kickers, you agitators, for what this tall flag here stands for: economic fairness, social justice, equal opportunity for all people. That's what that represents. That's why we're sitting here this evening. I come to you not merely from Austin, Texas, but from South Austin. And we have a little different attitude over on the south side of the river there. We're sort of irreverent. And our unofficial slogan is, we're all here because we're not all there. And I think we're all here this afternoon because we know that the powers that be in Washington, in Tallahassee, on Wall Street, and in the corporate suites are not at all there on the fundamentals of the concept of our people's sovereignty. The 5 black-robed thugs of the Supreme Court, let's call their names. We need to memorize these names. Alito, Kennedy, Roberts, Scalia, and Thomas. Yeah. They're as confused as goats on AstroTurf when it comes to understanding what America's about when they decree that a corporation is a person, that corporate money is free speech. Well, you don't have to be in who's who to know what's what. It's a perversion of both law and nature to claim that a scrap of paper can be a person and to insist that money is speech. By the way, as Rhana was indicating there, if money is speech, then by definition, speech is no longer free, right? Whoever's got the most money gets the most speech. So we're here with Rhana Bazzini to say that she will walk and speak for each of us as she makes this joyous journey along highways 19 and 41, carrying common sense to high places, even in Tallahassee, Florida. It's possible. She travels in the spirit of Granny D, which she cited, Doris Haddock, whom I was privileged to know, at 89 years of age on New Year's Day, 1999, at the Rose Bowl Parade. She followed the Rose Bowl Parade. She was the last entry in the Rose Bowl Parade. And as the parade ended and turned north, Granny kept going east, just kept moving, you know. But 3,200 miles across this country. And Susan DeMarco and I, back then, had a radio talk show that we were doing, and every Friday we would connect with Granny wherever the hell she was along that trail and talk with her a little bit. And we learned about her trek, her going through the Mojave Desert at 105 degrees, encountering Senator John Kyle and making him hide in his office, lock his office, because he didn't want to meet with his grandmother from New Hampshire. She encountered a rattlesnake in Texas, and she encountered Mitch McConnell in Tennessee. She had a snowstorm in West Virginia, but she kept walking and kept talking. They had to tape her feet every now and then. She had to have a steel corset to support her back, but she kept walking. February 29th, 2000, she entered Washington, and I was privileged to get to walk on that last little mile or so with her. We crossed the Memorial Bridge and over to the Lincoln Memorial, where Granny made a talk. And then we went over to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial to pay tribute to that. And then we marched right past the White House and then up K Street, where the corporate lobbyists have all of their offices, and then right up to the Capitol steps, where Granny gave one of the best speeches I've ever heard in my life, and I've heard quite a few very, very good ones. She addressed the throng of people who were there on the east side of the Capitol with a moving portrayal of this 3,200-mile journey she'd been on through the heart of our country. She says, "The people I met along my way have given me messages to deliver here. The messages are many, written with old and young hands of every color, and yet the messages are the same. They are this. Shame on you, senators and congressmen, who have turned the headquarters of a great and self-governing people into a bawdy house." We need to have more of that kind of language directed to those who pretend to represent us. But she kept going even after that. 2002, the McCain-Feingold bill passed thanks to her trip across our country. And in fact, both McCain and Feingold heralded her in the gallery of the Senate when that was being considered. In 2003, she was arrested in the state capitol rotunda for reading the First Amendment to the Constitution. And she was hauled to jail for doing that in our United States Congress. Then she ran for Senate against a Republican incumbent up in her home state of New Hampshire. And they tried to mess with her. You know, they said she could not use her name, Granny D. She couldn't use her nickname on the ballot, even though nicknames are commonly used on election ballots. So Granny went to court and had her middle name changed to Granny D. So it got on the ballot. And then the politicos tried to trivialize her and said, "Well, you're 90-something years old. You know, what are you going to do in the U.S. Senate?" She said, "I only intend to serve one term." And March 9, 2010, she died at 100 years of age. But you are proof that she did not die at all. Her heart beats like a big bass drum in everyone who dares to confront the corporate corruptors of our inalienable right to be a self-governing people. I referred to you at the top of this little peroration as agitators. The powers that be try to make that a pejorative in our society. Oh, those agitators. Our workers were perfectly happy in that factory until those union agitators came in. The poor people didn't mind living up against that toxic waste site until the environmental agitators came in and started messing with their heads. Well, as we say out in Lubbock, Texas, bovine excrement. Agitation is what America's all about. Agitation built this country. And it's been agitators just like you, ordinary folks from before 1776, all the way through, generation after generation, democratizing those documents of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. The first presidential election that chose George Washington, only 4% of the people were even eligible to vote. You couldn't vote if you were African American. You couldn't vote if you were a woman. You couldn't vote if you were Native American. If you did not come from European descendants and did not own property, you were not allowed to vote. It was you, ordinary folks, who stood up and did the extraordinary thing to democratize those documents over the years. So when they say to you that here you are talking about this corporate power, you're just a bunch of agitators, remind them that the agitator is the center post in the washing machine that gets the dirt out. We need a lot more of that. We need your agitation. Randy D. was a proud agitator. Rhana is as well, and so are you. Rhana has said that she knows her walk is not the solution to this problem of the corporate perversion of our political process, but it is a step toward the solution, which perfectly echoes what Doris Haddock said in her time, that getting corporate money out of our people's politics is the essential first step to restoring the people's control over our elections, which means the control over our government, which means the control over public policy. All of our issues, every single thing that you and I want to support, that we want to have happen, every one of those are trapped behind that wall of corporate money in Washington and in our state capitals. Hike the minimum wage? Overwhelmingly, the American people are in favor of that. but it will not even get considered in the House of Representatives of our country. Equal pay for women? Yes, say the people. We're all for that, but it will not even be considered in the Congress of the United States. Medicare for all, not just a little bit of stuff, but Medicare for every. You're born, you get Medicare. That's it. All right. Will not even be talked about in Washington. First-class public schools, public parks, public libraries. No. We're going to defund all of that. Repair and extend America's infrastructure. No, we don't have the money for that because we got to go battle ISIS. Green energy rather than big oil fracking in our country. People are for that, but no, not going to be considered. Robin Hood tax on Wall Street speculators to fund what needs to be done. We've got the money. We know where it is. Jesse Jackson once said, he was once asked, where are you going to get the money to do what you're talking about? He said, I'm going to get it from where it went. It went to Wall Street. We're going to go get it. We're going to bring it back and put it in the hands of the people. Insert your own issue. And of course, the constitutional amendments to say that, one, inalienable rights belong only to actual human people, and two, money is not speech. Both of those things have overwhelming public support across this country. 85% of Democrats, 80% of independents, 76% of Republicans want to repeal Citizens United. And they're left, Lyndon Johnson once said, you can't make chicken salad out of chicken manure. And that's all they've got. We had Mitch McConnell recently. Mitch is the leading Republican in the U.S. Senate. And Mitch was speaking to a Koch brothers conference out in Southern California a couple of months ago. Billionaires gathered there. He thought he was off the record. He got recorded and leaked to Nation magazine. Mitch McConnell in that thing assured the billionaires that all Citizens United did was to level the playing field for corporate speech. Who knew that they were being denied? The Supreme Court, he said, allowed all of you to participate in the process in a variety of different ways. It's Mitch's I have a dream speech. One day, at long last, every corporate billionaire will be free. Will be free to buy their own Congress critter. Great God Almighty, free at last, said Mitch. You hear a guy talk like that and you think, 100,000 sperm and you were the fastest? Well, doesn't seem possible. Of course, corporatists and cynics say that we can't win, even with such broad public support as we have, overwhelming public support. Both parties, they say, are owned by the moneyed elites. Constitutional amendment process is way too hard for ordinary people to get such an amendment passed. The Koch brothers machine is too powerful, they tell us. Give up, they say, it can't be done. But a friend of mine who's been a pioneer in the organic movement said to me once that those who say it can't be done should not interrupt those who are doing it. And that would be you. Ordinary folks who are standing up to make this possible. Move to Amend, Public Citizen, and all the others that were cited here are literally on the move. 500 cities in 16 states have already sent formal petitions to the Congress asking them to send a constitutional amendment to the people. Let the people vote on this. That's an extraordinary thing to have happened in just a very few short years. They forced the Senate vote. We had a vote in the U.S. Senate just a couple of months ago, and we won. We didn't win totally because you had to have a 2/3 vote, but we won the majority of those votes. We're on the move. The barnstorming tour of Move to Amend, going from New Hampshire all the way out to Hawaii, up I-35 from Texas all the way through Minnesota. Move to Amend, all their affiliates. I don't know if you've seen this list, but it's city after city. We've got these affiliates out there. The people themselves are on the move, not waiting for the politician, not waiting for the lobbyists. And now we got the Bazzini Brigade right here in Sarasota, Florida. The power of one. And, some say one person can't make a difference, but just remember this. Even the smallest dog can lift its leg on the tallest building. It makes a difference. The power of one is the power to inspire and rally and move others to action. First it'll be hundreds, like we have here. Then it'll be thousands. Then it will be millions. Some say, well, it's just a pipe dream. Well, Thomas Paine, when he was writing all those pamphlets, it was just a pipe dream. Elizabeth Cady Stanton, when she called a meeting, Seneca Falls, New York in 1842, it was just a pipe dream about women getting the right to vote. 4 farmers sitting around a table in a farmhouse just outside Lampasas, Texas in 1868. Just had a dream of maybe we could create a movement that would allow ordinary people, ordinary dirt farmers with labor, to be able to come together and take on the corporate powers. Dreams are what, pipe dreams are what make progress possible. That suffrage movement that I mentioned, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Susan B. Anthony, Sojourner Truth, none of them ever lived to vote. They fought that battle. Didn't one time get to cast a ballot. But they created a movement. And it was 70 years later, a long, hard slog. They never lost faith. Susan Anthony said, it's coming sooner than most people think. That was in 1895. So it was 20, 30 years later before he got there. But because of that push, because of that determination, it happened. It all begins by speaking out, standing up, which is what we're doing here today, and what Rhana represents. They say the first job of a citizen is to keep your mouth open. Well, we're pretty good at that. But it helps if that mouth is attached to a brain. And that's what these organizations represent that are backing Rhana's walk up to Tallahassee. You're the brain that provides the information and the connection that unites us with each other, and with information and with action, that we can all make a difference. I think of these organizations in terms of a little hardware store near my home in Austin called Harold's Hardware, just a little bitty thing. It's not one of those big box stores. You can go in there. You don't have to buy the carton of nails. You can buy 2 nails. They have to sell those here. They'll say, well, what are you trying to do? Well, I want to make this little lectern here. Well, let's pencil it out, they say, and see what you need. They'll loan you a tool. You can take a tool home, bring it back when you're through with it. And the slogan at Harold's Hardware is, together we can do it yourself. Now that's our slogan, isn't it? We can't do it ourselves. Rhana can't do it herself. She's got to have all of y'all around, and the many more people who are going to join this walk in this state and across other states as she is calling for. That's going to make the difference. We got to persevere. My friend Willie Nelson once told me, he said, Hightower, the early bird might get the worm, but it's the second mouse that gets the cheese. You might want to explain that to some of the slower ones. We've got to persevere. We've got to keep pushing. So I leave you with this thought. Mainly, believe in yourself. Believe in what you are doing and what you're standing for, because that is what America stands for. Just economic fairness, social justice, equal opportunity for all people. That's what America is. And it's not about money. It's about those values. And I'll leave you with this. It's from Patti Smith, the great rocker, who said that people have the power to dream, to rule, to wrestle the world from fools. That's what we're involved in. Thank you so much. Very proud of everybody. Thanks for what you're doing.
All right, so we didn't know for very long that Jim was going to be coming, so we had to put things together fairly quickly, but we are having a reception for him later this evening at 7 o'clock over at the Fogartyville Community Media and Arts Center, and we hope that some of you will be able to join us for that. You can get tickets at the WSLR table or at the front table and hear a little bit more from Jim at that point in time. As is often the case when you have a long list of organizations, I forgot a very important organization because they have been doing a lot of work statewide to support the Move to Amend initiative and now to get the word out about Rhana's Walk. So if you are a member of the Unitarian Universalist Justice Florida team, I want you to stand up. Woo! If you're a UU in Sarasota, Manatee, or Venice, go ahead and stand up. Yes, they have been awesome supporters. And on day 2 of Rhana's Walk, the Manatee Unitarian Universalist Fellowship will be hosting a potluck at 5:30. So if you are in Bradenton, please go and keep giving her the energy, give her the support that she needs to keep going, folks. It's not a one-day thing here. We got to keep behind her all the way to Tallahassee. And I want to say, I think we have at least 7 counties represented here today. People came from Broward County, from Orlando, which is Orange County, right? Seminole, Hillsborough, Pinellas, Manatee, Sarasota. So thank you for driving, for making this important, and for getting here today. So I want to ask you, if Jim Hightower can fly 1,200 miles, and Rhana can walk, actually, Ray Claire keeps upping it. I think it's over 400 miles now, the route she's taking. I want you to ask yourself, what can you do to support the cause? I know many of you already, you said you signed the petition 3 or 4 times. But if you haven't, make sure you sign it before you leave, because that's a way that we're going to keep in touch with you, okay? And we're going to tie you to the national organization that is working for this change. So make sure you have signed a petition. Can you buy a t-shirt or button and wear it to raise awareness in your circle of friends? Tell them, a lot of people don't know what Move to Amend is yet. So you wear that Move to Amend t-shirt, and what is that? Then you get to talk to them and educate them. Do you have friends in Florida along the route that you can reach out to and talk to and say, hey, Rhana's coming your way, you need to organize something, get your friends together? Think about that, and you want to talk to Ray Claire and let her know. Can you bring a kayak or canoe on Wednesday? Okay, on Wednesday at Emerson Point, we are going to be saying bon voyage to Rhana as she takes off across the bay by boat. So we'd like to have a little boat brigade out there to send her off with our signs and our banners. So can you join us? If you did not pick up one of these cards when you came in, please think in the next 3 days, do you have time on a lunch break or in the morning before you go to work? Can you come out and walk just a little bit of the way? This is only going to happen one time. I don't think she's going to walk it again. So this is the time we have to walk with her. You don't have to walk the whole 10 miles a day that she's doing. You can just do a little piece. On day 1, Joe Newman, 101-year-old Joe Newman, is going to walk 101 steps for each year of his life with Rhana Bazzini. If Joe can do it, you can do it. So this card will tell you the starting point of the morning walk, the starting point of the afternoon walk, and it'll tell you how to stay in touch with us. So pick up one of these cards once again at the front desk if you didn't get one when you came in. And for the new college community, okay, day 2, starting at Ringling Museum at 8:30 in the morning. So very simple for you to set your alarm, get up at 8:30, meet in front of the Ringling Museum, and just walk at least to campus. That would be great to have students out there. I know someone said it's fall break. Bummer. I want to recognize this young lady standing here, holding the camera, Miss Shane Doglinson. She works for WSLR Community Radio and produces the Jumping Mullet Report for the station, which is our local news report. I'd love to recognize if there is anyone from the Herald Tribune or ABC here. Is there anyone from our mainstream media here?
Corporate media.
Corporate media, where are they? That's part of the problem, ladies and gentlemen. So please support your community radio station. They do the best job they can. They work awful hard at it.
Yeah.
So you need to remember that the state of democracy is a state of action, and it takes effort to maintain. We can't have a democratic society if we don't have an active and engaged citizenry. It takes us all, and someone who is the poster child for an active and engaged citizen is Miss Ray Claire Johnson. She is the statewide coordinator for Rhana's Walk. She has been working her butt off, putting this thing together, organizing all these groups that have signed on to support, and making this thing really work. Please give her a warm welcome, Ray Claire Johnson.
Well, I want to thank everyone for coming. It's just been a great turnout. And I'm sorry that she let Rhana know I've got it up to 400 miles because I've been trying to keep that a secret. She told me she didn't care where I took her, so I took it literally. One of the things that Jim didn't mention is when Granny D heard about Citizens United, her comment was, and I'm paraphrasing a bit, but that democracy is a running game and you have to huddle and go back in. And so with Citizens United more than ever, we have to huddle and go back in. And I invite all of you to become part of that huddle because, as everyone said before me, if we don't have support, we can't make it happen. But I might not be right on this, maybe Jim can correct me, but I believe in Granny D's life, they passed 6 amendments to the Constitution. So it's not impossible for us to get our Constitution changed. The second thing is that we now have the internet, and we can move people faster, we can get the message out there faster, and I believe we can do it in our lifetime. And so we need everyone to get on board here. Now, some of you may have seen some of our different shirts. The Move to Men one you've heard about. But here's our other shirt, and this is our Enough shirt, because we've all had enough. Can you hear me? Okay, on the back it says, "Our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation conceived in liberty. We are now engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are here highly resolved that this nation shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government by the people, for the people, shall not perish from this earth. And if we don't stand up at this point in time, the democracy we know will no longer exist for our children and our grandchildren, and for the young people here today. So what we're asking is the day she arrives in Tallahassee, and actually we would like people to start on Thanksgiving. If you've seen the shirt, on the back are all the logos, the ones that Arlene read off. 24 of the national groups have stepped forward to support this walk, and they're sending message out to all of their members. Move On alone has 8 million members in their organization. So our goal is, from Thanksgiving to the day she arrives, December 3rd, we are encouraging people to wear these shirts so we become walking billboards. It's a way to combat the lack of coverage on the media, because people will start asking, what is this about? And we're hoping it takes off, and we're hoping you start with it. We're selling the shirts for $10 because we want everyone to wear them. If you have a family member that's not here today, please get one for them. And then the last thing is, on Wednesday, she's coming over and we're having a picnic in Maximo. Some of our people came here today. We invite you to come join us. It's at 6 o'clock just north of the Sunshine Skyway. And there's a rally in Orlando on Wednesday. We're having buses go over, and it's on the money out of election issue to hopefully get people into office who realize this is a problem. And that rally is in Orlando, and anyone who is interested, see me afterwards and I'll give you information on that. So I just want to thank everyone for coming, and follow her oh, I got to go in the vault. Okay, if you didn't get one of these cards, pick them up. On the back it has her website. It will have her progress as she goes along. If you have friends or family up the road, please contact them and have them join one of our events. How we're doing this is she's walking 10 miles a day. At lunch, at 5 miles, she's going to stop at a family-owned restaurant and hopefully meet and greet people. And at night, on most evenings, not all, but on most evenings, we're having a potluck dinner. And so every day, there'll be 2 events for people to get to meet her. So if you know someone north of here, please encourage them to join us. Thank you.
So as the event comes to a close today, you realize that it's not the end, it's just the beginning. We are here not for just this day, but for the long haul. As Roger said at the beginning of the event, we are building a grassroots movement that is not merely fighting against corporate rule, but fighting for democracy. The We the People amendment to abolish corporate personhood and regulate campaign spending has been put to a vote in 200 communities across this nation, both liberal and conservative areas, and guess what? Every time it has passed. This is a fight that we can win. But our fight does not end with abolishing corporate personhood. Our fight ends in justice, by which we mean liberation from a system that divides and damages in the name of the dollar to one that resists and rebuilds in the name of the people. Rhana Bazzini has stepped up and is on her way to Tallahassee to say enough is enough. It's time to kick corporations out of the driver's seat. And now it's your turn. Today, we are asking you to step up and join us on this journey.
I never realized that Quiet Arlene was such a firebrand.